All right then, good afternoon, everyone. Today is October 4th, 2020. This is a special meeting of the members of the State Liquor Authority being conducted in Albany and also remotely. We have Chairman Bradley, who's on the telephone.
I'm here. Thank
We have Commissioners Ford and Commissioners Fan, who are both appearing by video and can be seen on the live stream of the meeting. We have General Counsel Meyerhoff, who's participating by video. Deputy Commissioner of Licensing Roberts, who's joining us by telephone.
I'm here. Thank you.
And myself, Secretary Downey, in the Authority's Albany offices. We have 4 items on today's calendar. They are all requests from Council's office for emergency summary orders of suspension. First item is 1334 QQ. It's Dick's licensee is Nassau OP 1312238. Dickstar Corp.
Good afternoon, members of the board. The Office of Counsel submits the subject licensee Dickstar Corp. doing business as The Ambiance, located at 1177 Grand Avenue in Baldwin, New York, to members of the authority to consider an emergency order of suspension of their retail on-premise liquor license pursuant to SAPA, Section 401, subsection 3. Dickstar Corp. was issued an OP license on February 1st of 2019 to operate as a bar tavern with the following conditions that the board imposed on them. A 2:00 a.m. closing, 7 days per week. No DJ, no dancing, and 2 security guards Thursday through Saturday. The principals are Leroy English and Daron Dawes. The establishment is located in a mixed-use area, predominantly residential. The maximum occupancy of the premises is 45 patrons. On October 1st at 9:22 p.m., the Nassau County Bureau of Special Ops and 1st Precinct Special Enforcement Unit conducted a licensed premises check at the subject location. According to Lieutenant Frank DeScala, there were 6 patrons who were observed not socially distanced, not wearing facial masks, and standing at the bar drinking. There was no evidence of food being served. And after the inspection was conducted, the inspector from the town of Hempstead revoked the public assembly license for various violations, including obstructing means of egress, accumulation of garbage, and maintaining construction without a permit. The fire marshal also issued summonses for not having the automatic fire extinguisher system inspected every 6 months, for not having grease head and duct systems for cooking cleaned every 6 months, obstructed exits, and a violation of the public health law. Additionally, Lieutenant DeScala obtained liquor receipts for 48 bottles of alcohol that were purchased from a liquor store, totaling $4,473. The licensee is being charged with violation of 202.41, Executive Order 202.52, non-bona fide for not having a public assembly license to operate, failure to comply with various fire codes and building codes, and purchase from unauthorized source. On September 27th at 2:02 a.m., after the permissible closing time of 2 a.m., the Nassau County PD responded to the licensed premises after receiving a call for an aide at the location. Upon arrival, it was determined that a female patron had been shot in her body during a verbal and physical altercation that started inside the premises. 2 sergeants conducted a licensed premises check, and they observed over 30 patrons, mostly standing less than 6 feet apart, not wearing masks, and were drinking without consuming food. The investigation into the shooting showed that the altercation started inside the licensed premises between 3 patrons, who were then pushed outside by security. And once outside, the fighting continued, and one male shot 2 of the other individuals involved. 911 did not receive a call from the establishment prior to or after the shooting. The licensee is also being charged with violation of 202.41, 202.52, failure to conform for the application for operating beyond the 2:00 closing hour, and for disorderly premises. There is one prior open case. September 27th was not the first time the licensee disregarded the conditions on the license. On June 15th at 2019, at approximately Just 4 months after receiving their license, they were found to be opened and operating at 2:30 a.m. in violation of the condition of the license. So this type of conduct, the standing, the congregating, the lingering around the premises, and patrons not wearing masks while not seated is exactly the conduct the EOs and the SLA and Department of Health guidelines were designed to prevent. Additionally, it is clear this licensee cannot be trusted with this license. The board imposed conditions, namely a 2 a.m. closing time for very specific reasons. Allegedly, since the licensee was obtained in February of 2019, the licensee has violated the 2 a.m. closing time at least twice. Based upon the police records reviewed and my conversations with Lieutenant Frank Descala from the Nassau County Bureau of Special Operations and Roy Gunther, Inspector of the Town of Hempstead, this establishment poses a risk for many reasons to the public health and safety. The members can have no confidence that this conduct will not continue, and therefore council's office respectfully requests the members to summarily suspend this license. Thank you.
Gary, you're muted if you're.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I thought you were trying to say something. All right. Commissioner Fan, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Ford, any questions?
So, yeah, Counselor, so they were licensed, you said February 2019, is that correct?
That's correct.
So that was by this board.
That would be correct.
And so those were stipulations that the three of us put in place. Okay. I don't have any further questions.
Chairman Bradley, any questions?
No, I have no questions.
All right, with that, I'll call for your votes. First, Commissioner Fan.
Based on the evidence presented by counsel, this location is an imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, and I vote to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford.
Based on evidence presented by counsel and even nothing to do with the current state of things, this place is without a doubt a threat to the public health, safety, and welfare, so I vote to summarily suspend.
Chairman Bradley.
Based on the evidence presented by counsel, I vote to summarily suspend the licensed premise as a threat to the public health, safety, and welfare.
The next item I have is 1334 RR. Oswego 2214296, David's Hideaway LLC.
Good afternoon, members. Mark Frering on behalf of Counsel's Office. The licensee is located at 68 Route 11 in Central Square, New York. On October 2nd, 2020, SLA investigators found the licensee to be in violation of Executive Orders 202.16 and 202.41 by allowing employees to improperly wear their face masks below their noses and by allowing at least 15 patrons to stand and consume alcoholic beverages, not wearing face coverings, and an additional 20 patrons not social distancing. Investigators noted that once the band began to play, the number of patrons increased and there were not enough seats at tables to accommodate them. It appears that the music is not incidental to dining, but rather the main attraction. Given the number of people at the bar, there was not 6 feet of distance between the parties. This licensee has a prior EO violation in case 144345 that occurred on July 16th. That violation was preceded by a discussion of the guidance for reopening with the owner by an SLA investigator on July 6th. The CNC for that violation was accepted by the board on August 19th. People crowding together indoors, not wearing face masks, presents ideal conditions for the spread of the virus. Given the recurring EO violations, the licensee appears to be unable to assimilate the COVID-19 reopening guidelines into practice, and the hiring of a live band simply exacerbates the situation. This lack of proper supervision endangers the public health, welfare, and safety. The council's office therefore respectfully requests an emergency order of summary suspension. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
No, I do not have any questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
The band was actually a duo, wasn't it, Counselor?
I do not know the number of pieces in the band.
Yeah, I think I read it was just a duo. I don't know, that's distinction without a difference. I don't have any other questions.
Chairman Bradley, any questions?
No, I have no questions.
All right, with that, I'll call for the vote of the members. First, Commissioner, just for anybody watching, we're getting and losing Deputy Commissioner Roberts. That's why you see a change in the number of participants in the meeting. Commissioner Fan, your vote.
It's unfortunate that this licensee has already paid a fine for prior EO violations in July and continue to violate the governor's executive orders surrounding COVID-19. Due to an imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, I vote to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford, your vote.
I have to vote to summarily suspend for the same reasons as well. They've already been assessed the penalty last August 19th, so they clearly know what the rules are, and apparently choose not to enforce them. So I vote to suspend.
Chairman Bradley.
I vote to summarily suspend based on the evidence presented by counsel. It's clear this licensee is a threat to the public health, safety, and welfare.
The next item I have is 1334 SS. It's Orange OP 2210239. The licensee is La Patella Bar and Restaurant, Inc.
Good afternoon, Chairman Bradley, Commissioners Ford and Fan. Senior Attorney Caraminal here on behalf of Counsel's Office. This request for emergency order summary suspension of La Patella Bar and Restaurant. The original license issue date on this one is March 20th, 2018. Of note, there is another open executive order case violation against this licensee, case 144955. We've got a failure to comply with social distancing, 202.41, executive order 202.41, failure to supervise, and a failure to comply with closing hours of 8/22/2020 on that one. In this case, Friday, October 2nd, 2020, 11:55 p.m., Investigator Tucker and Figueroa entered the licensed premises and observed approximately 100 patrons. Virtually no one wearing any face masks, no social distancing measures being undertaken or enforced, and no face masks being worn or facial coverings being worn by 6 employees that were identified. There was a DJ playing live music with 10 to 15 patrons at any one time dancing. Another 10 to 15 at any one time playing pool on the multiple pool tables in the licensed premises. Investigators Tucker and Figueroa reported that the patrons were 2 rows deep at the bar, obviously not social distancing. They did manage to purchase 2 Corona beers, were not offered or required to purchase food. At the same time, Investigator Martin Rafferty was simultaneously observing the licensed premises from the parking lot until 1:30 a.m. At that time, there were approximately 40 cars still parked with loud music that could still be heard outside playing from the interior of the licensed premises. And this all despite a stipulated closing time for this licensee of 1:00 a.m. Stipulated with this board in 2018. The stipulation came about as a result of the prior licensee being a focal point for police attention, and that prior license being canceled by the members in October of 2017. The full board required this licensee to agree to 12 o'clock midnight closing for Sunday to Thursday and 1:00 a.m. on Friday and Saturdays. This particular licensee, subsequently to having a license issued in March of 2018, came back requested a method of operation change from the members to add DJ music and dancing, as well as to make the closing hours 4 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday. That request was disapproved by this board on October 2nd, 2019. So the need for licensees to enforce social distancing and facial mask usage, as well as sales of food to every patron that purchases alcoholic beverages, are central to the governor's executive orders. Have been widely published via media sources for many months now. It's simply not reasonable to believe that a licensee could be unaware of his responsibilities to run a healthy and safe establishment in compliance with the governor's executive orders at this point. In fact, given this licensee's history being shot down on his request to change his method of operation to what it appears exactly how he was operating on Friday, the Office of Counsel believes this licensee can't be trusted to either enforce the executive orders in a safe and effective manner, or in fact to keep his word with stipulations entered into with the members of the authority. Due to the foregoing, the Office of Counsel hereby requests an emergency summary order of suspension of this license.
All right, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
Yes. So you said that there is an outstanding case from
Correct.
August 22 violations?
Correct. There was July 24th violations as well as a August 22nd violation for the
And
closing
those
hours.
were both in one notice of pleading? Did it go out already? Did they receive it? That's the question.
It's gone out yet on that case.
It hasn't gone out yet?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
No, sir, Tom, I have no questions. Thank you.
Chairman Bradley?
I have no questions.
All right, with that, I'll call for your votes. First, Commissioner Fan.
Echoing the sentiment from Commissioner Ford, it's always disappointing to find that, licenses that the full board issue are not being respected and rules are not being followed. Unfortunate that this location continue to violate the governor's executive order surrounding COVID-19, and because of an imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, I vote to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford.
Based on all that and evidence is provided by counsel, I also vote to summarily suspend this license.
Chairman Bradley.
Based on the evidence provided by counsel, I vote to summarily suspend. It's clear this licensee has become a threat to the public health, safety, and welfare.
All right, then the next item I have is 1334TT. It's Putnam OP 2106 474. The licensee is Wenmore Inc.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. Senior Attorney Karamanel here on this request for summary order of suspension on Wenmore Inc. DBA the Mahopac Inn. The original license issue date on this one is at the very least 8/30 of 2000. That's as far back as we can go in our system. On Friday, October 2nd, 2020, approximately 6:00 p.m. Investigators Tucker and Figueroa entered the licensed premises to investigate complaints the authorities received relative to failure to comply with social distancing guidelines. Investigators asked to be seated at the bar, and a bartender who was improperly wearing a face mask pulled down over his nose to expose his nose. Apparently pulled a chair from another table and arranged the bar stools in such a way that they would be able to sit there. But the bar stools, once he did so, were no more than 2 feet from other patrons on either side. So not in compliance with executive orders, minimum 6-foot distancing. There was another bartender on duty that night who had no facial covering at all. see. The investigators observed approximately 27 patrons initially once they were seated, 4 of which were standing while consuming alcoholic beverages, listening to a 2-person band playing. When the investigators left at around 7:00 p.m., there was approximately 30 patrons standing and consuming beverages, walking freely about the establishment without face masks. There were no staff observed attempting to enforce social distancing or facial covering guidelines in accordance with the executive orders at that time. Of note, Investigator Tucker did speak with this licensee on July 3rd, 2020. She warned him regarding the need to enforce the governor's executive orders regarding social distancing and face mask usage by patrons. And that's case 143771 in our files. The need for licensees to enforce social distancing and facial coverings for patrons are essential to the governor's executive orders. They've been widely reported via media sources. It's not reasonable to believe that any New York retailer licensee at this point could somehow be unaware of his responsibilities to enforce social distancing guidelines and facial covering guidelines for patrons and staff alike. In fact, in this case, we have a licensee who had actual notice, who was warned by the authority's investigative office by enforcement to get into compliance 3 months ago now. As a result, the Office of Counsel believes this licensee has demonstrated an inability to operate a safe and healthy establishment within the guidelines provided by the governor's executive orders, as well as the authority and DOH guidelines pertaining thereto. And as a result, the Office of Counsel hereby requests an emergency summary order suspension for this premises.
Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
Do you have any adverse history?
Oh, I'm sorry. I would have to go back to 2008 for anything on them, and it was just a letter of advice.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Chairman Bradley, any questions?
No, I have no questions.
All right, if we're all ready to vote then, Commissioner Fan,
Based on the evidence presented by counsel, this location is an imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, and I vote to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford,
Based on what's presented by counsel, I find this premise to be a threat to the public health, safety, and welfare, so I vote to suspend as well.
and Chairman Bradley.
Based on the evidence presented by counsel, I vote to summarily suspend. This licensee is clearly a threat to the public health, safety, and welfare.
All right, with that, Chairman, I don't have anything else on the calendar. Anything else you want to add to the calendar?
No, just thank you to everyone, the commissioners, Tom, your staff, and Gary and his staff.
All right, with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everybody.